changing your vision board when you've ended a transition, I think, is something that a lot of people need to hear. That it does. If you make a vision board at the start of the year, it's not a set in stone reality because something can shift as you're progressing through that time. The Daily Humans podcast welcomes you. I'm Ashley.
I'm Nina.
We have a special guest on today's episode, our very first for the year, JP Steward.
Author, legendary writer, friend, what else? Our editor, superstar, JP Steward. Welcome to the podcast, Jay. How are you feeling today?
Thank you, guys. I love how editor was the one that you froze on, but that is like my main task here. But I'm doing good. Hi, guys. How are you today?
You go first, Nina.
I'm doing good. No, I'm doing great. It's been an interesting last few weeks, but I'm very excited to get back into the podcast scene, to get back on with you guys and to have you here today. Jay is amazing. If you guys are listening in, watching in, tuning in from wherever you're listening and watching from, today is a super fun episode. And also, Happy New Year! Oh my gosh! Ooh. 2025. It's totally cool.
I mean, technically, we're not starting the new year until the end of January, but we'll say that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've made that decision to not start until the 29th of January, I think it is, to have our new year, because it just doesn't feel like it. But, Happy New Year anyway to all of you. 2025, our first episode, and of course we had to have Jay. So let's do this. What do we talk about? Author, writer, musician.
I got nothing on the author front, so we can just slide past that. Nothing happened last year, or even so far this year.
Something did happen though. When was it? Last year? Yeah, it was last year. I'm thinking this was ages ago that I finished your book.
Oh yeah, you did finish that.
Months ago. I finished reading Jay's book, Blood of the Coven. I love reading books, but I'm not a frequent reader, I'd say. It's just when I feel like it, now and again. So I finished Jay's book and I sent her probably like 5 recordings, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was. Just when I spent an entire day reading that book. Like once I started, I think my head was stuck to it. Like I had it like right up here reading because I was so excited about what was going to come next. And it was just the most adventurous, thrilling, edge of my seat, what's going to happen next experience. And that is how movies should be, but they're not these days. So I got it from the book, and that was invigorating to finally have that after so long. I had to let her know how great it is. Blood of the Coven by JP Steward. You can get it on Amazon. That's where I got mine from. I don't know if there's any other places that they can get the book on. Is there anywhere else?
You can get it on Amazon, and I think it's still available on Barnes & Noble too. So Barnes & Noble's website, you can get it from there.
Barnes & Noble. She's a writer. She's accomplished. Amazing. I'm loving it. But you're right, Ash. You're absolutely right. There are very few places at this point that have me in a chokehold the way your writing does and your books do. Blood of the Coven is an amazing book. We've talked about it prior on the episode, but we will talk about it every single time. This beautiful, stunning fashionista in bright yellow, hello, poppin', is on this podcast because you're amazing. You're an incredible writer.
Thank you, guys. Seriously, thank you. The imposter syndrome is still very real, but hearing from you guys and how much you love the book helps a lot. I don't know if I'm gonna do another one this year, but I have 2 others, Ash, if that will save you for a while. I got 2 other books you can go read, and I might start writing fanfic again in the meantime, so I may have some of that for you as well.
You do have some exciting projects coming up. And just to say too, I do have your book in my Amazon cart. You know when you don't check out, you just kind of leave it there, waiting.
Sits.
Yeah, it's just there. Is it Planet? Okay, is it 737 Planet or Planet 37? Yeah.
Planet
What's it
73.
actually, Jay? Yes, I've got that one in the cart ready. And I just have to say too, the illustration, I loved the feeling of Blood of the Coven. The book, like the feeling, it was just so nice.
Yeah.
There's something about what's the material? I don't know how to explain it, but it's very like soft. I don't know how to explain it. But there's
I
something
think it's
about books, like the feeling.
yeah. Yeah. And it's like I think it's considered matte. I think it's like the matte books
Yeah.
are the ones that have that kind of texture to them. So I always pick that when it comes to publishing.
Thank
For a
you.
reason.
Mostly just I like the feel of it. It's like I like buying books that feel like that, so I want my books to just follow the same suit. You know, kind of trying to fit in with the industry as best as I can because my writing definitely doesn't.
Well, if I may interject for a second, I have to disagree. Like I feel like you're the missing piece to the industry because a lot of it is just very monochrome, but you fit perfectly into the adventure, sci-fi, even fantasy vibe, I think. But you're unique, you're new, you're special. And like I said, guys, I know this is going to sound very much like an ad because it is. Check out her books. They're amazing. And yes, by the way, keynote to everybody, because this has been a pet peeve of mine. The writing is legible. It's big enough for you to read without having to pull out a microscope and be like, what's that word? It's smaller than an ant. Because that has been the case in all the books I've bought over the last few years. I kid you not. I read a book recently last year by Noam Chomsky. The writing was smaller than an ant. I'm not joking. It was the smallest writing I've ever seen. So, Jay, you're one of the very few books. You write one of the very few books that are actually for human consumption, for human eyes. So if you're older, if you are visually impaired, give the book a try. Really, it's worth it. Go, Jay.
I put a lot of thought and effort into the formatting of the book because I do have dyslexia and reading has always been hard. There is the author of Aragon wrote a sci-fi book that I still am trying to read, but the font is so tiny and so tightly packed onto the pages that I've given up, and then it's like a 30-hour audiobook and I'm like, my guy, I just want an accessible version of this book. So I want my books to be like that, and that is like my entire goal when I format all my books.
You achieved it. You definitely achieved it, and keep doing that. It's inclusivity. And I think people use, I could be wrong, but I do feel like one part of it is people use smaller fonts because of I get the aesthetic of it, I think. Because I know I've done that before. I 100% have done that before because of the aesthetic. But at the same time, it is difficult for many people. And I think it's important to keep that in mind when you're posting subtitles as well. I've definitely been someone that has posted aesthetic subtitles, but it's like the whole point of subtitles is for people to be able to read them. So thank you for your inclusivity. And I don't know if you want to talk about it, but you have other projects that are in works right now too. What are they?
So I am working on starting up it's basically the same YouTube channel I've been doing, but I had and this sounds like a brag, but it's not. I have 500 subscribers on my original YouTube page, but I started that 9 years ago, and only like I think like 5 people actually of those 500 watch my videos. So I wanted to start fresh. So I've made a brand new channel, and I'm going to start doing more K-pop reactions, more music video reactions. I'm also going to be playing my guitars on that channel. I'm going to be working on producing music again, all also while working on books and writing. So like I have somehow decided 2024 or 2025 is the year of do everything all at once. That is what my brain has decided. So
I love that. That's great. And yeah, welcome to 2025.
yeah. It's already a wild year.
It already has been, like,
Yeah.
as of like recording date, it's the 13th of January, and it's been a lot of things going on. And if I can just, because I don't know if I believe you've mentioned it in a prior episode, and if you'd like to speak on it, I want to give you the chance to. But obviously, with a lot that has been going on, you are from California, you're a California native. Is there anything you want to say or put out there in regards to the wildfires, or just essentially anything about being in California, being from America? Anything you want to say to anybody who's listening who may want to hear?
I will say that like there's two issues that are very similar with what's going on in California and what's going on with my country as a whole. And that is the generalization of people. Like I've seen a lot of people in other countries assuming that because who our next president is, that means we all voted and that's what the entire country thinks, but it's much more diverse than that. So like I would like it to be known on like a grand scale that like a majority of our country wants progress, but the other majority somehow won the vote, and that's a whole bureaucratic system that I do not want to get into. It's stupid. My brother have talked at length about it, but like stop generalizing all Americans. And then when it comes to Californians especially here in Southern California where I'm from, we get generalized as all being rich because we live in one of the toughest places to live, but a majority of us live paycheck to paycheck. Especially right now here on the 13th, we're still dealing with the two biggest fires we've ever seen in LA County. And a lot of the people who have lost their homes are people like me who live paycheck to paycheck, or are creators online who rely on like creator funds to survive. So that does not allow for like rebuilding and everything. So I will have, I'll send you a link for it. I'll put a link down below in the description for you guys for where you can go donate if you can. If you are local and listening to this podcast, there are places that will be taking donations probably still. And like, the donations don't even have to be food and water. For a lot of people, they've been asking for clothes, books, stuffed animals, because there's literally just an entire city that doesn't exist anymore. It is just gone, wiped off the map completely, homes leveled. So these are people who have lost absolutely everything. And if we could all just show some care and compassion for people online, that'd be really nice. Because, like, outside of the SoCal area, I know we've been getting a lot of hate. A lot of people are treating us poorly, telling us this is our fault and stuff like that, and nobody deserves to hear that. And it is still terrifying because by the time this episode comes out, I don't know if there will be a new fire. But as of today, the winds are back up to 70, 80 miles an hour. So things may change in the next couple of days for me. And I'm still just like really hoping that I stay safe. So hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, I'll be able to put in the description still safe for you guys.
I have a question. Are your government officials helping out as well when it comes to donations and assisting on the grounds for?
Yes.
They are?
our governor, Gavin Newsom, is like a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Gavin Newsom, but I have seen a lot of governors in California. I've heard my grandma talk about them because we've lived here for so long. He is one of the best governors we have had. He declared the state of emergency far earlier than many other governors would. He's already called to get aid from the president, and he's been down on the ground helping people here in LA County. So, like, the mayor definitely is getting some flack because the way she did the budget last year, and now the firefighters do not have as much budget as they should. So the mayor's getting a lot of flack, but at least our governor is being good to us right now.
Yeah, I saw that on TikTok that she lowered the budget for firefighters, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that's why I asked the question too, because I thought to myself, in times like this of major crisis, it dumbfounds me how community will always step up and help. And that's what I've seen
Oh,
online. And
yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you're confirming that as well. And I thought to myself, if community are doing this, where is the government? Like, where are government officials? Why aren't they doing majority of the work and helping? Since, they're
Right.
meant to be there for community. And I was thinking that for a while of like, I'm wondering who is on the boots helping.
Yeah.
So to know too that she took the budget from those that are actually needed in this time. There was actually I don't know, I can't remember his name, but I was watching Sunrise this morning, and I don't watch Sunrise, but I was just watching it this morning, and they had someone from the US, an enviro Shay,
Environmental?
yeah, something along those lines. And he was talking about how, this is essentially nothing new, and this has happened before. He was talking along those lines, and he was mentioning that there is a unrealistic expectation on how quick responders are and firefighters. There's a very unrealistic expectation. He was talking about that, and I thought to myself, interesting, because to basically say that and to know that budget was also taken from them, like I'm trying to find the connection with that when you need them
Yeah.
the most. Yeah.
Well, this was also like they say this is nothing new, but the thing is with like the Palisade and the Eat Fire specifically, this is actually unprecedented. It was like the perfect storm. So we are naturally almost always in a drought. That is always our problem. We just entered wet season though. We normally start to get humidity, we get rain, we get snow in the mountains. We hadn't got that yet. And then what are called the Santa Ana winds came through, and those are normally really bad. But this year they were extra bad. They were upwards of 100 miles per hour. So dry conditions, the really high winds knocking down power lines sparked these fires. And then because the winds were bad, we couldn't tackle the fire the way you're supposed to. Normally it's a two attack system. You attack it from the ground and you attack it from the air. But when the winds are 100 miles per hour, what was it? I saw somebody on TikTok say if the winds are 90 miles per hour, your plane is going 90 miles per hour in the opposite direction it's supposed to. Like, there was no way they could fight the fires. So even if we had like the budget and everything, it still would have been really bad. And that's the horrible part. The only good things that have kind of come out of this that I have seen is our fire chief declared that he did a thing for the next year. Insurance companies cannot cancel anybody who has a fire protection policy in the affected areas. And President Biden has declared that for the next like 3 months, I think the government is going to be covering costs to help the fire department build and continue tackling these fires. So like small little good things, but it definitely is like a very unprecedented situation of every bad thing that could happen happened. And LA has never seen fires like this. Normally, like, we'll get texts from people who are like, who don't live in California and there's a fire and they're like, hey, are you okay? And it's like, I live in a metropolis. We don't get fires in the metropolis. But we did this time. So now we're all just like, oh, so it can happen to us. Oh, this is terrifying.
I think a lot of us are definitely in a situation where we're having to deal with an increase of just weather anomalies or wildfires, natural, what do you call it? Like natural phenomena. Yeah,
Natural disaster, I think.
disaster as well. Yeah, that, obviously we're having to navigate, and we saw it with the hurricane as well, a few months back in the States and in Florida. And it was wild, but I'm really grateful for the amounts of community I've seen come together, and hearing that, everybody's on the ground trying to help. I know that Mexico flew in volunteer firefighters. So it's really great. It's sad that it has to come to such horrible situations, but it's really great to see people band together, even though you have people who are, very judgmental and cold about it. You do still have that community aspect where people are like, okay, we have to help each other. We're going to come together. We're going to figure this out. We're going to help wildlife, people. We're going to go give them shelter, water, food, whatever they need. And I really love that about California. If you're just like listening in or watching for the first time, I used to live in LA, or in the LA area, for a while, off and on. I was in Sacramento, and then I was in SoCal, and just the community there is really, really great. The people there can be amazing. So I'm hoping that California gets better, and that, it won't get worse than what it already is. And I'm proud of you, Jay, for holding out and for being safe. And to anybody listening and that is from the States or is from California, please chime in if you want to talk about where you're at, what you're seeing, what you're experiencing. But I can at least speak, I think, for all of us when I say that we wish you the best and stay safe, and hold on, keep fighting.
Yeah.
Fight on.
Yes. Power to the people.
On Sunrise this morning, just to say as well, allegedly they were talking about how because of the fires over in the US, allegedly they have done it here where they have decided that high risk areas, they've cancelled their insurance, or they're not accepting people in high risk areas. And I'm sitting there going, I'm like, I have to turn this off. I have to turn this off. This is like rage in the morning. This is insanity.
Yeah.
We for people that haven't been to Australia, we are surrounded by, dry grass, nature, trees, a lot of the places that you go to, especially regional, it's land. There's so much land here. And to cancel fire insurance when Australia experiences so many wildfires, and they're so random, but also people do to start them. Yeah, they definitely do here as well. But it's just a level of inhumanity, as I said about the fires in the US. Like I can't fathom making that kind of decision when people have just lost their homes. Yeah, so I'm glad that was someone actually took control of the situation and changed the narrative as it should.
Yeah.
Well, that's how this new year has started out for a lot of us.
It's been a little bit of a depressing start, but we're handling it.
We talked about it. I think obviously we have a group chat. To all of you guys who don't know, we have a group chat and we talk about everything. We talk about the podcast, we talk about life. And I don't know if you two still agree, but like we've all kind of like banded together and we were like, no, we're not accepting this yet as the new year. We're gonna wait off. We're gonna put it off. We're gonna we're gonna wait until Lunar New Year, or when we just feel like the time is right, essentially. So this is like the leftover of 2024. We can leave the madness in the past, and by the time Lunar New Year happens, the fire will be gone. Everything will be rebuilt. Everything will be fine. We'll be reinvesting. TikTok will be back in the States. By the way, guys, I'm so sorry. We're gonna put like a healing ointment on everything, and it's gonna just flourish and be like boom.
I'm just saying this is the human experience. Like we're called the Daily Humans podcast. So if episodes start out on a low, this is the human experience, hun. It ain't gonna always be on a high. Just for any of you that's like, oh, this episode is a drag. Hey, life, honey, life. You know, it ain't always a
Yeah.
drag. But this year has started off like on a yeah. I'm not even gonna say a word to it. So it's all right. If any of you want to relate and also chime in on how you're feeling about it, go right ahead. This is, as I said, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. What were
Please
you going to
do.
ask, Nina?
Well, before I ask, apparently, and like I said, I'm not taking in any content regarding the future of 2025 because I'm trying to be as motivated as possible to get through life. But but I've seen a lot of like witch communities, astrologer communities, and just like very sensitive, intuitive people be like, this is going to be a big year transformation. And apparently, um, Ash, you illuminated us both that there's a retrograde going on and we have a full moon in Cancer tonight. You're on the 14th, I think, already, but we're on the 13th. So, like, I think you just passed the full moon. I'm in the midst of it. And for you, Jay, it's still coming. But apparently, it's also a year of the snake, which, if you think about the symbolization of that, um, I think it's very momentous, but I'm going to still hold out hope. And in the midst of all this, Ash has reminded me of this, Jay has reminded me of this, and I keep reminding myself, so I want to spread it to you guys as well, is that the universe needs chaos in order to transition into something better. Like it always becomes chaotic before we go to that, like, oh, okay, everything's good now. I think some people just need the riling up. Obviously, not with wildfires or natural disasters. That's a terrible thing. But like on a human scale, we can't progress unless we have chaos, I guess. I guess we just chose this for ourselves, and that's just wonderful.
You
Like,
can't
just hold on.
build. You can't build on a crumbling foundation. The foundation has to go away. That's what the tower card is all about.
Oh my gosh. I feel like
that goes on
yeah.
a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's really merch. No, but like, go ahead. Sorry.
It's like she's dropping mics over here.
Oh, I feel like you're part of like my spirit team, Jay, even though you're still on Earth, because literally I pulled a card a few weeks ago. I said this to Ash. I never said this to you. I pulled a card a few weeks ago. I have affirmation cards, and I have like, I would still call them affirmation cards, even though they look kind of like tarot decks, but they are affirmation cards. And one of them was like, build up your foundation. And then the affirmation card, the other one was like, kindness is the foundation of self-confidence or something along those lines. And for you to be like, we can't build upon a crumbling foundation, I'm just like, maybe this is the theme, you know, for all of us right now. We're having to rebuild and tear out the weeds in our backyard or the weeds in our gardens so that we can kind of plant new seeds and start all over, so we can actually bring about something that we really want instead of what we don't want.
Yeah.
It's been happening for a few years, but
yeah,
to add more context to it, it's kind of like it's now society, it's now humanity that is having to go through the crumbling of systems that were never working, but were programmed for you to believe that they're working, and rebuild and find a way to rebuild, because we've got to figure that out ourselves. It's the people that created them. Now we've got to realize that it's not actually helping us in our day-to-day human existence. So we can actually, change it. We can actually do better and create better. And it's not validating as well any kind of inhumanity that's currently happening, or anything that people do on the lines of that, because that's a human choice, may I just say.
right.
Humans are actively choosing that. But from what Nina and Jay are saying, it's just the thing of realizing that it is a choice, realizing that it doesn't have to be this way. We can choose better for the highest good of humanity. And I mean, just as a little example for you all as well, if you're a bit like, how is that happening? All the conversations on generational curses being broken, on the line of that, changing it up from the ancestral lineage and bringing in new ways of healing and validating emotions and validating self and actually talking about self, like in all, talking about the human experience. That is foundations that people have been creating and deconstructing and remolding. That's all been happening in the last, I'd probably say like 3 years. Do you guys have a different timeline? I'm saying probably like 3 years. I
I'd say
think
like
it started so
5,
slowly. 5?
like
Yeah,
5.
that's, yeah, yeah. 3, 5, like, doesn't matter. It's happening and it's moving, and that is proof as well that we need this to happen. We need boundaries. We need to understand individuality. We need to understand as well that everyone is different and validate gender norms, validate just human experience, okay? Human experience.
You just sparked something in me that I want to share. And when I saw it, I was like, ooh, that's a word. So I saw it the other day from a creator on TikTok. I do not remember their name. But it was like, if you're a generational curse breaker, or if you're breaking generational curses, you cannot keep seeking the validation of people
Oh,
who are
yeah.
part of the curse. And I was like,
Saw you reposted
okay.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was amazing. I was like, that's a word, because I've definitely been in that forest. I don't know. I try to give like a
Ooh.
visualization of that, trying to just get through the forest of like essentially getting to my own voice and living from my center again, because I've definitely had some interesting things pick up in my inner circles. And it's just like, you cannot seek validation from the very people who are caught up in the stuff you're trying to escape. And I've even heard it as far as you have to have discernment enough in order to realize who has the character to change and who does not. There are some people, because just as a quick thingy, I'm constantly always have been, probably always will be a person who believes anybody and everybody has the capability of change. I would give anybody a second chance, but life has taught me now, and I've journaled it this morning, so it's real when I put it to paper, that while anybody has the freedom to change, doesn't mean you have the character to. Some people do not want to brave the wilderness of uncomfortability in order to get better or learn or grow. And you cannot pigeonholed or expect that of everybody to do, even if that's something that you would do for others or you would do for the world or for yourself, etc. So have discernment, and yeah, that's just like my little PSA.
There's a saying that I live by, and it's become a lot more prominent recently in my life, dealing with generational breaking and certain members of my family and even some old friends of mine. And I've said it a lot. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That is a saying that I live by, because I have done so much for so many people on my healing journey to try to help them heal. But if they don't want to, don't have the character, or are too afraid to, you can't make them heal or start their journey. You have to let them deal with it themselves, and then, like you said, have discernment over whether or not that person is going to be good to keep in your life, or you need to keep at a distance, whether it be family or friends. You really need to do what's best for you. You, my brain just went, you're the only horse that you can lead to water and make drink. You're the only horse. Nobody else that you can do that with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I completely agree.
1 second. Just to jump off what you said, Jay, I totally agree with what you both are saying. It's also, I think, the thing of unchanged behavior is no longer tolerated. So essentially, we can't control people to make these decisions, but at the same time, we can control whether we stay in the spaces of accepting them or not. You have a choice. Everyone has a choice, even if the situations aren't representing that, to essentially change it. And I don't mean physical either, because I know there's a lot of conflictions with that. I know there's some confrontations with that for a lot of people. But when it comes to behavior, and choices, you do have a choice. And people also have a choice whether they stay in the space and tolerate or not. And they have every right to leave. I actually recently put like a massive, passionate, slightly rage story on Instagram about this. It's one thing that sparks my gears is that you know that you can't control people to do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You acknowledge that side, but then it's like, don't get annoyed if I no longer want to be in your space because there's unchanged behavior. You're not willing to see, you're not willing to listen, you're not willing to have accountability or responsibility or even try and practice, even if you fall back. And I've actually had this conversation with people before, is that even if you fall back countless of times, the point is that you're practicing. You're basically having to, as we were talking about before, create an entirely new foundation of no tools and no awareness and no knowledge because no one's taught you so. But it's possible to create that foundation because many people who didn't grow up with it have done so, right? You learn from these experiences too. You learn from when people leave your own behaviors of, oh, I see why they decided to, you know, cut me off because this behavior wasn't okay. And they said it a million times to me. You learn from the mistakes, you learn from the upheavals, in my opinion. And that's sort of where we were at before, talking about the generational experiences and changes and also just the upheaval that's currently happening. Humanity has to learn from its wrongdoings to find the right, and we will keep learning as we're going. We will always be learning. And it's about being open to that learning and not taking it personal, not taking it to heart. We need this. We need to show up better for each other. We need change because the way that things are, it's not it. People are miserable and it doesn't have to be that way. Like I said, thank you.
And like one thing that I have learned through a lot of my healing journey, and especially going into this year, is that resilience is important for when it comes to growing and change, because you have a lot of people who will get knocked down on the healing journey and then decide, this is it, I can't change, I can't be a better person. Like you said, they'll take it to heart, they take it against themselves, and they don't try again. But even if you get knocked down and it takes you a couple years to get back up and try again and actually try, as long as you try again at some point, that is still resilient. Like, so they sell these little crochet packs. They're these little like crochet things that are like a first time crochet beginners. And it was the stupidest thing last night for me to sit down while I was crocheting and realize that I actually embody that resilience that a lot of people need in their healing journeys, simply because when I started that little crochet pack like 5 months ago, I sucked at it. I hated it. I was frustrated with it and I put it away. I didn't throw it away though. I picked it back up like a couple of nights ago and now I'm doing it and I'm doing a lot better. It's the same thing with the healing. You'll get knocked down, you'll hit walls, but you have to keep going and learning. Like, we grew up hearing what you said, Ash, the learn from your mistakes mentality. We grew up hearing that, but it's like, continuing the generational curse idea, it's like they didn't hear it themselves. So we got that lesson, and now we're watching what happens when you don't follow through on that lesson. And it's so wild to me watching the difference in like the families of us who are healing and breaking these curses, and then looking back at our family members and being like, man, if you had like one or two more traits, like just a little bit more resilience, a little bit more confidence to do something or to try again, like you could be in a similar position we are. But we can't give you that trait. You have to have it or create it yourself.
I think if you've been a victim throughout your life in numerous circumstances, the healing journey, you're not a victim in that. The healing journey is your greatest support system. It's meant to help you, even if you fall on your butt countless times. You're not a victim in your own healing journey. So I know myself, and I think maybe you two might be able to relate to it, that you do see it like that. You do see it as a punishment cycle, because honestly, things come up. And when you don't know how to deal with that, you obviously see it as a punishment. You see it as a worst case scenario, and you think you're a victim for what's coming up. But really, the situation that happened, yes. But when it comes to processing it, no. It's the greatest thing for you to be able to sit in more grounded spaces and more thrilling, living, that's not even a word, living space. That's the goal, isn't it? I mean, you might have your own goals, but essentially it's just for life to be a better version, for it to be a more calming, grounded, peaceful version for you. That's the whole point. Healing is meant to be the change from what has always been, right? So again, healing isn't the perpetrator, right? It's not there to harm you. It's not there to create, discourse in your life, even though I know it might take you having to leave environments and people and situations. It's there to help. It's there to help. Always has been.
Absolutely. Wow. The wisdom from both of you is it's flowing tonight or today, whenever, whatever time zone you're in.
Morning, night, and afternoon.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you both, is that something that you're building in 2025? Is it your resilience, or what is it that you want to kind of or what you feel? Even it doesn't have to be something that you want to work on. It's like, okay, I have this goal now, I'm going to go towards it. But is there something that you felt within the last few weeks or so, leaning into Lunar New Year, where you feel like, okay, this is kind of where I want to grow into, or this is what has been coming up in my life? Is it resilience? Is it growth? What is it for you guys? What is it looking like? What does it sound like? What is the progression?
You go, Jay.
Okay, I'll go first. For me, it's a big theme for me this year is reframing confidence, because confidence for me has always been like you have it or you don't kind of thing, and I'm reframing the way that I look at it. Having confidence is honestly really similar to resilience. It's doing something even though you're scared, even though you don't have the skills, even though you don't know the outcome. It's doing something despite everything against you. So I am working on trying to reframe that. That's why I'm getting back into music again. I'm continuing to work on my books. I'm starting the YouTube channel. I'm doing all of this despite the absolute terror of doing it. So confidence is the big theme that I am working on for myself this year. Reframing and then just building and growing it.
It's incredible. Look at you, our confident fashionista, writer, author, everything, superstar. What is it for you, Ash?
I mean, sorry, Jay, at this point, just get a t-shirt and just have all of that written on it.
Yeah.
Nina, send her one with it.
Yeah, Nina, do a fancy font. I'll slap it on a t-shirt, put it on a sticky note, stick it above my workstation.
It's like the ultimate affirmation, I think. Just sending her that t-shirt so she can remind herself every day. Author,
Absolutely.
writer, editor.
And then because you always start with giving Ash so many compliments, we'll do the same thing for you, Ash. We'll get a list of all of Nina's compliments for you, and we'll just put that on a t-shirt for you as well. And then for you, Nina, I think it's just going to be the I'm proud of you that me and Ash keep saying, because that seems to be what does it, what your ticket is. It's just that we're very proud of you. So we'll have plenty of reminders of that for you on a t-shirt.
Yes, I will happily wear it.
On both sides too, not just one side, on both, back and front.
Going down the sleeves too.
Sleeves. Yes. And the collar, why not? Just smother the whole t-shirt with it at this point. Every single space is covered with it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a good idea.
I would actually love to hear you answer it, Nina, if you want to, of course.
Put
Otherwise,
me
I
on the
can.
spot. Actually,
I know.
just to say real quick, because I would like to add this in. So just to like have like this little intersection because it fits perfectly to what you said, Shay. There is this artist that I just recently discovered, and her name is Georgia O'Keeffe. I believe she's Irish or Scottish. I'm not 100% on that, but she has this beautiful quote that I read, and it just fits perfectly. And that is, I've been absolutely terrified every moment of my life, and I've never let it keep me from doing a single thing that I wanted to do. And I was like, it's queen moment. Absolutely. I was like, go girl, girl bossing. I see you.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
so I love that. But actually,
fear though. Just to say, I don't know if you two can relate, but you hear do it even if you're scared. Have you both heard that before?
yeah.
And I sit back and I think this is the healing journey. I sit back and I think, yeah, but it makes it harder. It makes it harder. I don't need to feel the fear or be scared over it. So how about we just remove that, or just place it somewhere else and just get on
Right.
with the thing.
Yeah.
It's annoying sometimes to feel the anxiety and the fear and the worry. It gets annoying. You just want to do things without it. Totally validating that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a
Absolutely.
beautiful quote. Don't get me wrong. But in my mind, it was like, but, it doesn't need to be like that.
I agree. It does make navigating things more difficult, but I feel, I don't know. Before I answer the question, I'm just going to say this as a side note. In the past, I have felt amazing like excitement over things, and it felt like fear. So sometimes I really do wonder if fear is just kind of like the inclination of if something is really important to us or not. Because if it's really important to us, we care about it, and that is where fear comes from. Maybe it's misdirected happiness or excitement, and it develops in or manifests in anxiety.
It can be an intuitive thing for you to determine the difference
Mhm.
between something that isn't meant for you and something that is meant for you.
Ooh, I like
Because if
that.
you feel fear but excitement at the same time, then hey, yeah, that's more of a push in the direction of motivation. Because I've definitely felt that before. Have you felt that before, Jay, where you
Oh,
feel the excitement but you're afraid, but you're able to do it a lot more, even though you are afraid, right? But when it's
yeah.
anxiety that's in the gut, that kind of anxiety that sits there and squeezes, or even the chest, which a lot of you may feel mostly
Yeah.
commonly in those two places, it is literally like clawing on the ground in the mud, clawing to get to the other side. And maybe that's something that helps you guys determine between something that is a soulful decision that is meant for you compared to something that is potentially not meant for you. That actually
Mm.
could be something for some of you.
And for those of you who feel anxiety and like if you're in some place that you are super comfortable with, super familiar with, you know it in and out, you happy to be there, but you still feel anxiety, that may be a medical diagnosis. Please go talk to a doctor about that, because that's what I have and I take medication for it. So please go get that looked at. There's a healthy level of anxiety, and then there's what I have.
Yes. Yes. All the different pathways of it. It's good to
So,
know.
I mean, yes, absolutely. But can you really be calm in the society that we are in right now? Is anxiety, our constant state of anxiety, not being normal at this point? Because if you're cool and chill, you're like, and you're like, well, everything is great. I have no fear. I have no fear. Everything is just wonderful all the time. I feel like that.
You do have to take that into consideration, but trust me, there is a healthy level still,
Yeah.
even for that.
Got it. Get it checked out, guys.
So
Girls.
freaking true.
All my non-binary peeps, everybody involved, everybody. Anyway, to
Oh, I
answer
thought you were going to continue. Backstreet Boys are back.
The Daily Humans is back.
That was really good.
Intro song. Oh, just these movements. People on audio are going to be like, what's happening? What's happening right now?
Oh my God, we're back again. Yeah. Anyway, to answer your question.
Yes, I forgot about that part. Sorry. Oh my God, we're back again. Oh my God, touche. Okay, answer the question.
Very much the same thing, actually. It's confidence. So the thing is, right? I don't know if you guys listening, watching in are privy to vision boards or manifestation or anything of the sort. If you're the type of people that plan for stuff, I'm pretty sure we all kind of go through the same rituals in one way or another. We just have a different way of expressing it. However, I think for the last 2 years now, I pick a word and I let that be the overarching theme of the year I walk into. And last year it was metamorphosis, and I was metamorphosized, and trust on that. This year it is confidence, and I definitely wanted to build it up. And like you said, confidence is not just a you have it or you don't have it. It is something you build. It is something you create. It is something that you kind of continue to build up as an inner strength when you do the things that scare you or the things that you don't believe are possible for you. And you challenge those preconceived notions, essentially. So I'm not going to lie. I think it was last night. I literally woke up at like 3 a.m. and I was like, oh my God, life.
Deb.
Yeah, I definitely had like a moment where I was like, what do you mean everything is changing? And that's the weird thing that I've encountered with myself is like all these years I've wanted things to change, move, all these different opportunities that I wanted to kind of invite into my life. And then now that they're happening, I am petrified. And I definitely had a humbling moment the last few weeks because I literally sat there and I was like, why am I scared? Everything is happening exactly according to plan, exactly how I wanted it. Maybe not in the exact way that I wanted it, but very close. And it's still all aligning to the future and the life that I want for myself. But I guess, and maybe you guys can agree, and you all who are chiming in here today can kind of agree with this as well. I have a big concern with the world. And it's funny because this was never really a thing for me when I was younger, but the older I'm getting, the more concerned I'm getting about the world. And I'm like, well, how am I going to do this when the world is changing and I don't know what's going to happen and this could happen and this could happen. And it's funny because I follow this YouTuber and she just recently had a baby and she was like, I worry about the world all the time now and I cry all the time. And I'm like, it's so weird because you're in a time of your life where you're giving birth to something new. In this case, this person had a baby. We're all birthing something in our own way. We're all mothers to something, whether that be in the creative fields, whether that be within ourselves and kind of cocooning and going into a butterfly, becoming a butterfly, but we're all creating, we're all expanding, we're all growing, we're all giving life to new things continuously. And it's funny how we get petrified when that happens, when that is the exact thing that we're supposed to do. So yeah, I have to agree with you, Ash, when you're like, anxiety, no thank you. Fear, no thank you. F off. Goodbye. But at the same time, kind of to go back to what I was saying, confidence is something that I want to build up. I want to go into the direction of what my dreams are, what my desires are, not in the direction of my fears and anxiety. And that's kind of what I'm aligning myself with. It is petrifying. But hopefully it'll turn out well. We never know. Yalla.
Should be on a t-shirt. Just like you with your big smile, be like, I'm petrified. This big ass smile,
What about you, Ash?
like I'm petrified. I'm allowing the process of figuring that out entirely, but even if I don't, it's okay to sort of flow through. But
Yeah.
at the moment, I'm at a point where it's like, I think m- m- my metaphor is a no,
Mantra?
my my quote, my metaphor, my inspiration. Can't think of the freaking word, all right. Is why the hell not? That's kind of been the thing that I've been saying to myself countless of times that I found myself saying in the last few weeks is why the hell not? So I think that must be the main focus this year. And then obviously there are other things as well as what you both were saying, building self up. That's also obviously my thing too. And with new things coming in that have already come in and have completely triggered a different side to self, and now I'm having to really get in there and scrounge around, and it's like a very old attic with a lot of boxes, and you're just discovering crap. That's what new areas in your healing journey open you up to. So at the moment, I'm in the attic cleaning it and finding things and being like, oh, I could probably sell that. That's so no, I'm definitely keeping it. I'm the person that says it and then keeps it. So that
Checks.
is that you
I say that with
100%.
love.
Um, what were you saying, Jay?
I said I say that with love.
Yeah. Hey, I do not doubt it for a second. I completely agree. So I think that's really the main focus for me this year is why the hell not? And I did make what you call a vision board, but I changed it to a yes board, a why the hell not board. And I put all this stuff on there that I have desires for and a need for some things, even though they say you shouldn't have a need. But you know what? I honestly am in the point of I don't give the F word. Yeah, I really don't. It is a need. It is a desire. So whatever. I've put all of that in like the vision board design and just changed the word, which any of you can do that. It doesn't have to be vision board. It can be something that is personal to you. You can have free will with this stuff. I don't realize that enough. With manifestation, with vision boards, with affirmations, with journaling, with shadow work, you actually have free will to do it as you need to for self. Other people offer suggestions, but that's just guidance. I really needed to say that because I thought to myself, I don't really relate to vision board. I feel like it's just too, what's the word? It's too, I don't know, I just don't relate to it. I was going to say too modernized for some reason.
Mainstream?
Yeah, mainstream. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a little too mainstream. And look, it's okay. It's not going to relate to everyone, but to me personally, it doesn't. So that's what I thought of. Why not change it up, Ashley? There's free will. No one's going to come behind you and say, "Put vision board, put it." Like my spirit team comes into my dreams at night and says, "How dare you change the word, you little fucker." Oh, I'll have to actually, I can swear. I can swear. But anyway,
Far enough in the video.
yes.
I love that though. And I think that's a really good thing to state and to say, because I think a lot of people get caught up in this is how I'm supposed to be doing this, whether it's the healing journey,
Mhm.
manifestation, even witchcraft. Like everyone gets caught up in this is how it's done, so this is how I should do it. But like one of the big things that my most recent therapist worked with me on is journaling. And he basically said that, like, if this style of journaling doesn't work with you, play around until you find what does. And then if it works for you, just
Exactly.
keep doing it. Like, if it works,
Exactly.
people can say what they want, but if it works for you. So do that. So I
Mhm.
absolutely love that.
Yeah, I love that your therapist told you that too, because you don't hear it enough that it's a spectrum. And you
Yep.
don't have to do the questions if you don't feel like you resonate to it. Because you hear a lot about, it'll be a question like, what happened in your childhood that made you feel not worthy enough? Like it will be that type of stuff. But some people, it also depends on your individual journey. These days, this might be something for any of you. All I put at the top of my journaling page is what has come up today. That's what I do, because they also talk about remaining present, right? And remaining present is what some people actually need, especially when you have complex PTSD or depression. You are very much connected to your past. So being present is actually really important, even though I know it's difficult. And I validate that it is very important for a lot of us to remain as present as possible. So I will put, what's come up today, and I will take it all. Even if it's difficult, I will put it all on that paper. I slam it on that paper. I have broken pens from just shoving it into the purple. Because why not? Why not put it on paper? Get it out of your mind and shove it on there. Even if your mind is still holding on to a percentage of it, of course it is. Of course
Oh,
it is,
yeah.
but it's a tool to help. That's what it is. It's a tool to help, to give you some relief, right? So that might be something as well. Just literally what's coming up today. You could start there. And then wherever your flow goes, if you start tapping into the past a bit more and thinking, where in my childhood was I not feeling good enough? If you want to do that, if you're ready for that, go right ahead. As long as you're safe, that's the main thing. And obviously, if you need a support system, 100%. But it's a open field, as Jay and I are saying.
And
Yes.
And to add
Jenna's
to
finger
that,
up and everything.
no, I just was my hand because I got passionate. Jay, you have your own way of kind of bringing about your wishes for the year. And would you like to talk about
Oh,
it? Because
yes.
that was the first time I've heard of it, and it was amazing. And I would love for you to share if you're open for it.
Yes, I found a trend online. It is kind of more a mainstream trend. I don't think it got very much traction, but there was this person who was doing instead of doing like a yearly goal sheet, which I have done so many times and I hate them every year, they do a bingo card. You'll see the idea of a bingo card in like the disaster and how bad is this year gonna go category. People have already, I think people of those have already gotten bingos, which is terrifying, but like I took it and I took the positive spin on it, and like each column represents a different part of my life or a different difficulty in how hard it will be to accomplish those goals or how realistic it is. And then from there I fill in each one with something that I would like to see happen, and then I just it's like a background goal. Like, this would be awesome if I could do this, but if it doesn't happen or if I don't get a bingo, it's not the end of the world. As long as I'm checking stuff off the card, then I'm making progress. Like, last year was like the first official year that I did one. I did not get a bingo, but I did check off several things that I did not expect to be able to check off. And so that is kind of what I am doing with this year as well. I mean, I have some slightly unrealistic stuff on there, like putting one of my favorite musicians in person or making a connection with them. So, kind of unrealistic. But then we go to the realistic side, and I have published another book, get 5 subscribers on YouTube. Like, this is all stuff I can do. And that's kind of what I mean with, like, you find what works for you and you let it flow. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest piece of advice I think we can give you guys.
Delulu is just a Lulu. And it's not extraordinary.
I'm gonna keep that soundbite.
And that's the thing.
Say that again, Ash, please.
I was just saying it. Why the hell not?
Yeah, absolutely. And we will leave all the social stuff in the descriptions below, above, beside, wherever you're seeing this, listening to this. So you will definitely get your subscribers into first quarter of the year, okay? We're gonna make it happen. And buy her books too while you at it, because baby, good books, and you gotta read, girl. Boy. non-binary folk, you gotta read to keep your mind sharp as you be evolving in life, you know. Anyway, sorry about that. That was my alter ego. She and I don't really get along all too much. She actually messed up our meeting one time. Like my alter ego, I think she's a little bit jealous. Like I don't really know what her deal is. She's a problem. But anyway, she got like all of our time zones messed up, and it was like a really big deal. But anyway,
I don't blame her for just wanting a bit of mischief, just
No.
vibing with that a little bit. It was
No,
harmless.
not acceptable.
Harmless. It was absolutely harmless, but I imagine it as like a bit of mischief of being like, haha, I'm gonna tell Jay this time. Haha, I'm gonna tell Ashley this time, and those fuckers are gonna rock up late and early. Because Jay would have been really early, and I would have been no, Jay would have been late. Sorry,
Yeah.
an hour late, and I would have been an hour early. Yeah.
I was right on time. Oh. Yeah,
A
no,
little bit of mischief.
I'm so good with time and dates as well usually, so it was interesting. But yeah, conquering fears and really challenging status quo and expecting more than what we think is possible is actually the way to go, because otherwise we're just limiting ourselves. And for what are we limiting ourselves for? There's no reason for that. This life is for you to explore, create, expand, just figure it out. You don't have to take somebody else's account for it. Even with journaling, you can literally just draw. You don't have to put words to paper if that's not what resonates. You can literally just draw and do art. So yeah, that's another creative outlet for you guys. Just drop in tips and tricks.
Ideologies about what you can accomplish in life is limiting beliefs, and limiting beliefs are programmed and installed within you. So where you think that you can't accomplish it is a limiting belief, because why the hell not? Even if you think, oh, this field is oversaturated, it's like I heard someone say that like art is oversaturated, and I thought, if you look at the period of over the years of, if we're talking about like paintings and artwork, right? All the new designs that have come into play, like people are creating it from glass, from shards of glass. It's just human beings will always come up with the most creative ways of molding something, and it will be new. As the years progress, there will be new, or someone will reinvent watercolors in a certain way. I just think it's an endless possibility. I don't like being in a boxed ideology personally myself. I don't like being in a boxed ideology over it, because the most random stuff has happened over the years. And I don't just mean in my life, but I've witnessed the most random stuff out there. And I think to myself, it just keeps proving that anything can really happen. It obviously just depends on where you're at personally, what kind of space you're in and how you see the expansion of your life, really. How much do your limiting beliefs take more power over you walking through your life? And I know there's a full unveiling towards that in terms of complexities. I understand all of that, right? But it's still a thing of thinking about. That's why it's worth healing. That's why it's worth taking the journey, because this stuff is worth it, essentially. It's actually worth it when you start experiencing different realities from what has always been. And just to say this quickly too, because it popped into my head, Liam Nelson carried around money in his wallet and pretended that it was $1 million. He manifested that way. You can manifest in any way that feels true to self, because I've heard so many stories of people doing out of the box things. Like one lady wore a wedding ring because she wanted to get married. So she just wore it. And then, here we are. And that happened for her. There's no limitations. There's really not. It's only the ones that you create, and obviously the ones that have been programmed into you. It's your choice, free will.
You are the creator for your life. The same way that you create things, that is the thing. I have to interject real quick. And this has revolutionized my life since I've heard it. And I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this before. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it to one of you two before. I read a book a long time ago called How to Get Out of My Own Way by Tyrese Gibson. It's a little bit problematic now, so let's not talk about it. But there was one idea in there that changed truly everything for me. And that is, it was literally, he just wrote it down in this book. I read it on the paper, and it was like, look around your room or look around your location, wherever you're finding yourself right now, and everything you see was once an idea from a different person. And that revolutionized my life, because I was like, wait a minute, yeah, I kind of have just been going through my life just thinking, well, everything that's created has already been created, it's already there, it's like I have nothing to contribute. And it's like, this was all an idea from some random person, either years ago or just recently. And you can continue to evolve and create, because human creativity is unstoppable. The only thing that is putting limits on anything in your life is either society, by what you were taught, people, maybe even yourself, bad experiences, I don't know, but keep pushing through that. And I will, return to you, Jay, with your books. Like, when I first got your book, Blood of the Coven, amazing book, by the way. If you haven't heard it yet, check it out. Just had to plug it one more time. I'm so sorry. But when I held it in my hands, I was astounded, because it was like, this was your idea and you physically manifested it. And now it's in the hands of somebody that's across the world from you. Like, that is insane. And every single day we have the opportunity to do that. And I'm sure in every single way we do actually do that, even when we're not conscious of it. So keep creating, keep growing, keep pushing the envelope of what's already there, because oh my gosh, there's so much that is yet to be discovered. And I'm surrounded by incredible creatives. And if you are a creative, if you are wanting to start something, even this podcast, like, I thought about it one day, and now we're sitting here recording podcasts for like almost over 2 years. And that's insane. I'm so happy. Thank you. Thank you for listening and watching. Thank you for being here, you guys.
I do want to say with Jay's book too, just for anyone as well that's also an author, is just think about it, right? When someone buys your book, like Jay's book will forever sit in my library. So as I expand and move and shift, it will forever be a part of my collection now, like forever and ever and ever, and it will be passed down. Hopefully, if I have children, one of them will love books a lot, because could just be continually passed down. So when you create something, right? I know that in the present moment we think of it within the limitations of this is just what it is and there's nothing more. And I'm not saying everyone thinks that way, but I know we can get that way.
Yeah.
But if you take the future and you think about it in this way, someone is going to be carrying down your art, your music, your books, your knitting. If you've knitted clothing or scarves or whatever, someone's going to be passing that down. It is going to exist for a long time. And I think that is pretty miraculous when you think about it. So
Yeah.
my
Like,
future potential children, thank you.
Yeah. And it's wild, because it's like, like you said, like, really just sitting down and thinking about, like, someone created it. Like, things do get passed down. Like, there is a blanket that I sleep with every night on my bed. It's this big unicorn fleece blanket, and somebody made it out of Mexico, and then my mom bought it. My cousin Brian took it from her, and then my mom took it back, and then I took it from my mom, and then eventually I'm gonna give it to my kid when I have one someday. So it's like, it's weird to think that, yeah, books, blankets, any kind of craft is all just stuff that stays. And even if I know you guys never would, but even if my books end up and you guys give them away to like Goodwill or a bookstore, it then still keeps going around and it gets in somebody else's hands. It
Right.
still exists.
Mm.
And listen, I have to say that because my ex has 2 of my books and I have no idea what she did with them. So
Submitted it to the Hall of Fame of Authors, of course. That's the only thing to do with your books.
of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
I agree.
Yeah.
Second motion.
Can I just say this real quick? Because this has been on my mind, and obviously with everything going on right now currently, stories don't see, books are a physical thing, right? But the stories that we tell, the stories that we create and share with each other, they don't only get passed down in physical form, they also stay with us internally, and they change us and they grow us. So something that has been on my mind a lot with, obviously I hate to bring it back and be kind of like a downer, but for people who have lost a lot in life or who have had to give away a lot of their things to start over, due to environmental conditions or just life itself, those stories live in the heart of you when they've really touched you, and they can change you, they can grow you, they can restructure and reframe life entirely. Like that book that I mentioned earlier, and as well with yours, Ash, the same goes with music. These things, art, but not just art, it's a lot more than just art, is something that is very needed in our human psyche. And it's funny to me because I don't know if this has been updated yet. So just from my end of the world here, I'm going to put this out there. A lot of scientists don't even understand why we have music. They say this is an accident in the universe. And I'm like, it's not an accident. If it's here, it's on purpose. And I think self-expression in any form is so vital because even like you said, Jay, like you said, Ash, even though we may not be able to perceive or conceive how it can affect somebody else, the things that we are creating, the stories that we are sharing, the stories that we are telling, our human species is inherently based upon stories. That's a historic truth. And so keep telling your story, Jay, and be mindful of what kind of stories you tell about yourself.
Mm. Mic drop.
Mic drop. I love that.
See, I just, and this is just me being a music nerd. I need every time we do the mic drop, I need mic drop by BTS to start playing in the background.
Oh my gosh, that's literally what just happened for me as well. Every time we say it, mic drop. Did you see my back?
A real quick question I wanted to ask you guys as well was, how do you prepare for a new season in your life, for a new year? I know not everybody, you guys who are listening and watching, and I'm sorry to break the fourth wall constantly, but you're a part of this conversation too, okay? I understand that not everybody, celebrates holidays the same. Some people celebrate certain holidays, some people don't at all. Lunar New Year, that's a celebration for some people, some cultures, some countries, and others not at all. Whereas, New Year's Eve is on December 31st, and then we go into the new year on January 1st, and we all celebrate it differently. So I kind of just want to ask you two, what is kind of the vibe? Does it change every single year? How are you bringing in a new change, a new year, whenever that is for you?
Just to give you a behind the scenes little snippet, Jay said that I'm to go first. So I'm going first to answer the question. So Nina said it during the episode that I actually said it too, that we're celebrating the new year at the end of January. Personally, why I don't really consider January to be the start is because I think January holds the rest of the energy from the year before, and it gives us that time to really set how we want this year to unfold and also release things from the year before. Like I think January is just that middle point of the year before and then this year, and sort of molding into humming into this year, because it's so, you don't get a lot of time to do that. You know, you have New Year and that's it. Like you don't get the time to really process moving into the end of last year into this year. So January I consider to be in the middle between those two processes. That's personally for me. So I will definitely honor when this month ends, because it's always been the reflection of the leftovers. A non-ordered takeaway service. You didn't order it, but it's a leftover. That's what January is. We're going to make a t-shirt about that. The leftover January. She's thinking, what are you thinking about?
Well, actually, the thing is, I don't know where you guys are listening in from, but in Ethiopia, they have a 13th month calendar. So, again, in different cultures, they don't start the new year until we're probably into February or March-ish, depending on, different people's cultures and stuff. So, it's actually quite on point that due to, like Western civilization, colonization, all of this stuff, we could have actually been celebrating a 13th month within the year if we had followed different calendars from different cultures. Even the Mayans had two forms of telling time, two forms of dates and calendars as well. So you're not too far off, Ash, when it comes to saying that January is kind of like the leftover month, because it could be in actuality that it actually is still part of 2024. We could still be in 2024, which explains the chaos.
Mm. Well, if you think about it, right, you finish New Year and everyone starts to go back to work. So it's just the constant cycle of capitalism and productivity. So there's no space or room for processing. A lot of people, a lot of people have, especially when we get to the cusp of the end of the year, they have the memories of that year come up and it floods. Not everyone, obviously, but a lot of people go through sort of this transitional moment of, oh no, I remember what happened in January, February, March, April. They go through the year and have that remembrance. And once the new year's over, you've immediately got to go back into some sense of normality, some cycle again, that same cycle, while you're trying to process what has been unfolding in the last year. It's just very much like that, like bam, 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 bam. But in the human existence, in human body, human psychology, I just don't think that we're meant to be processing like that we're meant to be flowing like that and working like that. It's probably why they have a 13th month in a way, because it doesn't go by the productivity calendar, which is, I think, what we're on, is sort of, it relies on a productivity scale.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen a few TikTok videos talk about that. And it really sounds like it, because it's constantly January, February, March, April, May, this, that, this, that. You have end of financial year, you have this, you have holiday, la, 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 la. Oh, la, la, la. That's what it feels like. Whoa. Someone projectile vomiting every day and every month
Even
of the year.
quarters of the year, like the four quarters, that's also a business thing. It's not really a natural system, which is why I love Lunar New Year so much more, because it is part of like spring equinox and winter equinox and kind of the more natural order to life, which we've so removed ourselves from. Like, I have so many things to talk about this year in upcoming episodes. You have no idea. But like, I definitely appreciate having this extra time, because yeah, that's just kind of where I stand. I'm gonna let you two talk though, because what are your rituals, girl? How you be moving through the end of last year in January?
I'm just going to end mine off with just that analogy and getting in my journaling and tarot. Get those cards. Give me the Tower card. I'm ready for it. Whatever happens this year, I'm actually in acceptance with the Tower card. It took me a long time. Since starting tarot, it took me a long time, but the Tower card is probably one of the best cards out of the tarot deck. And I know that sounds like, whoa, are you okay, Ashley? No, because it symbolizes to me that something's going to crumble that I actually might not see that I wanted to crumble at that time, but it needs to crumble. And that's how it's always been every time I get the Tower card. Like it needed to crumble, as difficult as it is. So I am open and accepting of whatever comes, even if it's difficult, and going from that. What about you, Jay?
I it's weird because I definitely don't follow the traditional cycles anymore, and like being a practicing witch and getting back into my Celtic roots has really gotten me in tune with moon cycles more. And I think the calendar that you're talking about, Nina, is one of my favorite calendars because if I remember, I don't remember if it is the 13-month calendar, but there's a calendar where it's 4 even weeks across the board. Like instead of our 4 and a bit weeks, it's 4 or 3 even weeks. And that breaks down into in a way where every year starts on a Sunday and it ends on a Saturday. And every month starts on a Sunday and ends on a Saturday. It's very even, it's clean. It makes a lot more sense. It follows closer to the moon cycles. So that's kind of where I'm at. I can't obviously use that kind of a calendar because I live in a capitalist society, but that's kind of where my brain goes. So for me, Lunar New Year feels a lot more like the true start to the year because it's when the cycles reset. Whereas like the new year in January is much closer to winter solstice, which does not fit. Is I think the like last major week of it's like Yule is around Christmas time, and that's when you have your longest night, your winter solstice, and it feels like the new year comes too soon after that. But even more so than just following the lunar cycles, I don't even fully abide by the yearly transitions anymore. When I feel like a cycle in my life is ending and I'm ready to start again, I change my vision board. So I have a vision board that I use. I use it. It's my desktop background on both of my computers, and I keep it there. And whenever I feel like something major's happened, there's a big enough shift, I will go in and I will change it. And the last change I did was back at the mid-end of November. Changed the color orange. I put focus on music, and that's still the energy that I carry with me now. And then for any other like rituals or spell jars that I do, because as Nina mentioned, I do spell jars and different things, I always try to refresh them around my birthday because that's when I feel like your personal energy is the strongest, is around the time when you came into this world. And that's where I really feel a big connection with because we're surrounded by so many different cycles, both capitalistic, moon based, religion based, personal. There are so many cycles, and it feels like a weird thing to use as a reference, but there was I don't remember who it was, but there was somebody I saw on TikTok. They were on a podcast talking about being a mom and all the struggles with the house and how many different cycles there are in your house. And our natural thing is to want all those cycles to line up. You want the laundry to be done. You want the dishwasher to be empty. You want the house to be clean. You want all those cycles done at the same time. But that's not feasible. It is okay for those cycles to have their own time frame. And I've been adapting that into my home life and now adapting it into my personal life because my like theme cycle changed in November, but the New Year's cycle doesn't start for another few weeks. And it's perfectly fine when those cycles do not line up. You just need to find where you fit with all your different cycles going on around you. If that made any sense at all. I'm used to using visual cues. This is why I like making my videos.
Made perfect sense.
That's fabulous. Yeah. What you said was, it really had me thinking. It really had me thinking. Changing your vision board when you've ended a transition, I think is something that a lot of people need to hear, that it does. If you make a vision board at the start of the year, it's not a set in stone reality because something can shift as you're progressing through that time.
Yep.
So I think it's good to let people know that it's such an open field. Like you can change it up because you will change as the year progresses, basically.
Yeah. Heck,
Yeah.
I even, with my bingo card, I made it at the top of 2024, but halfway through the year, I had already scratched out some things and changed them because I had shifted what my focus was. So, like, even if you're creating something like that on a yearly scale, remember, you're allowed to change it. If you feel like you yourself have changed, you're allowed to change the things around you too. It is completely valid to follow your own cycle.
I love that. That is amazing. Wow.
Yeah, that was a mic drop moment. And the BTS plays in all of our heads at the same time.
And we all just start breaking out into choreo. It's not quite synced, it's not quite right, but we're passionate.
Anyway, yeah,
What about
that's.
you, Nina?
Yes, your turn.
Oh yeah, I didn't answer.
No.
Didn't realize. I think it changes every year as well. I mean, I try to wrap up as much as possible where I feel like I have unfinished business within December so that I can just kind of have like a gentle January. If that happens or not is kind of just, it's up to the moment, honestly. But when it comes to me, I kind of just, at the end of the year, when I'm approaching, let's say, November, I kind of just get into this mindset of like, okay, is there anything I would like to address? Anything that is left that I feel like is coming up in my life that is not being addressed, not being acknowledged? Where can I improve? Where I still have time to and want to? And I kind of take it from there. But once December is kind of coming to an end, I want to leave majority, especially last year was an incredibly tough year. Metamorphosis was a great word. Did not think about the real life ramifications of that word, but here we are. Anyway, 2024 was a hard year, and I think it was for a lot of us. It was definitely interesting, but I wanted to leave all of that in the past. I was just like, okay, if there's anything for me left to wrap up that I don't want to take into this new season, into this new year, even if January still feels a bit stagnant, I want to leave this in the past. That's what I address. And that's what I leave behind, whether that be talking to people, addressing things, cutting things off, cutting off bad habits as much as possible, or just journaling it out and relieving some kind of emotional tie to something that happened or did not happen. That is kind of vital for me. And I think that is the only thing that's kind of set. I think a lot about, burning paper and doing stuff, having like physical rituals for it. But outside of just writing things down and letting it go and kind of meditating and entering into a space of kind of self. I've said this before, like the seat of self. I want to enter into the seat of self again instead of like, oh my God, holidays. I need to do this. I need to clean. I need to do this. I want to kind of just come back into myself and be like, okay, where do we want to go? Something I will say, and this is something I do like more often because I did this last year. I felt bad about it at the beginning of last year, but now I'm kind of thinking it to be a new habit, is that instead of doing like a vision board, bingo card, yes board, yes wall, whatever you want to, name it, I, at the end of the year, I want to do it within January because I feel like I can have a better idea of where I want to go within a new space rather than the old one. And I know that that's kind of more of a mental shift than it is a physical one, but I don't know. I do get inspired by the fireworks and I'm like, happy 2025, happy new year. And then, you just feel inspired, even though it's just like this tiny glimmer of it. I do want to hang on to that and use that as my motivation. I'm like, okay, where do I kind of want to move into? How do I want the next 11, 12, 13, whatever months to be? And where can I expand? And then take all of January to kind of like conjure that up and think up whatever it is I want to move into. And like I said, typically I have a word and then I expand into that within January and then I figure it out from there. So that's the only thing. Just wrapping up old stuff. I like to clean before the new year. That's something that is a solid thing. I want my house to be clean. I want my sheets to be clean. I know for some people,
Yeah.
some cultures, that's bad luck. They're like, oh my God, no, you can't clean before after New Year's. No, I want it to be gone. I want the Christmas tree to be gone. Yeah,
Yep.
that's kind of where I'm at with it. Nothing too special.
See, but I like that though, because like when I think about the cycles again, it's like one cycle has ended, the capitalist cycle has ended, but you still are waiting for the lunar cycle to end. So it's kind of like in between those two cycles,
Yes.
one ends before the next one ends. You have that nice transition period where the capitalist will always be continuously turning. There's no breaks for that cycle, no matter how much we'd like it. But for the
Yeah.
other one, you're in that ending period, and so you can use that to focus and transition. And I really like that a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good
Okay.
answer. Especially the how did you do it? You're like suck it in, or something like that.
Yeah, like return to self, I think is what I said. Suck it in. Suck,
Actually do that
suck
as
it
a
in.
way of calling back your energy. You could actually do
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Like suck it up. Like being like if you think you're giving it to someone, be like suck it back up. Like you're sipping on a straw. Yeah. No. Where do you think you're going?
Can I would like to ask this because you're a witch, Jay. Has there been any shifts or changes within you kind of listening to your own inner cycles as opposed to capitalistic? Has it gotten better? Has life become easier when you align yourself with your inner cycle as opposed to nature or, other things, other cycles? Wish there
It's
was an
become
idea.
it's become a lot better, honestly. The only inner cycle I'm having a hard time following because it contradicts so hard with the capitalism and just everything I want to do is my sleep cycle. That's abysmal. My body is like, okay, we can go to bed at 3 a.m. and get up at noon. And I'm like, listen, yes, but everything I want to do with people, I need to get up at 8 a.m. So no, we can't have that. But other than that, it definitely feels a lot better. Like being able
Okay.
to follow my own beat, necessary
Yeah.
in one way of putting it. Being able to follow my own drum, my own noise, my own sound. Like it feels like I'm true to myself.
And that's what life is all about, isn't it? Being true to yourself. I love
Yeah.
that. What about you, Ash? What significance does it have to kind of just like listen to where you're at currently? Does that feel better as opposed to kind of like forcing yourself to fit into the narrative of what's already been prescribed for you of like, go, 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 you have to have it all figured out, like all this stuff? Has anything shifted within yourself since adhering to your own cycles or just like letting it come to you? Do you feel any difference?
Definitely. It's it's a yes or no in the feeling better because you are living in a society that runs on old programs. So
Right.
as many know, when you're moving into completely new ideologies of life, you have the resistance not just from self and limiting beliefs, but outside influences as well. And online, the way people, decide to hold on to the old ways of doing things. If you give a different version of some sort, it's just automatically, resistance. And look, that's their journey, obviously, because if you're meant to awaken to the other ways of life and living, then you will. For some people, it just takes literally one person's video on TikTok to spark them. So that's why I post as well, just to put a little thing in there too. but it's difficult in that aspect of shutting off the outside noise, you know, and getting, maybe not even just shutting it off, but getting to a point where you don't have any attachment when you hear it. So when you hear it, it's just the words fly by. They, whoo, birdie, pretty bird. Like it's just that, there's no attachment, there's no emotional connection to it. You just let someone say it and that's it. And you don't take it personally, you don't internalize it. So getting to that point is something that I've been working on for probably the last few years now. And I still have I can still feel the connection. I can still feel it, the care factor. And Nina said it before, and I might, re-illustrate it in a different way. But it was on the terms of why would you seek, I guess, validation from the very people that are a part of an old system and old belief systems and old foundations, right? And that's just the thing that I'm trying to detach from too, is listening to people that when I don't even align with what they believe, I don't align with the way they do things, and I'm not going to try to control how they do or not, but it's just like, why am I seeking acceptance from people? Why am I constantly worried about who's going to accept me and who's not? And I'm pretty sure, like in my mind, I feel like I've gone a 180 around the question because I can't even remember what the question fully was. And no, I did. I just got it just then. It's an up and down experience, as I always advocate on this podcast. It's an up and down thing where it is great. It is absolutely great, even when it's not. It's great because I would rather be here. I would rather be in a position of following my own calendar, as difficult as it is, as much as resistance is going to come in. I'd rather do it afraid in that way because I'm happier in this way. And beforehand, as many people have stated from their own experiences, I was personally never happy and I don't know what happiness was. And I had no recollection of living and the enjoyment of that. So, yeah, anything is better than that reality. But not even just that, being in a healthier mindset when it comes to myself and other human beings and the foundations that we create, especially if we're in each other's spaces. Like, hell yeah, I'll take that any day. So I'd rather have the resistance. I'd rather you sit there and go, oh, you need to hustle. You need to hustle. Don't care about your health. Don't listen to your body. You need to hustle. I'd sit there and listen to you and nod and go, hey, you do you. You do you, boo. You go and do. But I disagree. I'm not going to put any kind of stance or jeopardize my body for something that is not going to have to deal with the consequences.
Right.
So, yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, as we wrap up this episode, I would like to just say this. A lot of us, I don't know if we still subscribe to the whole New Year, New Me thing, but I know a lot of us have resolutions or intentions that we wish to grow into. Instead, I would rather ask you to, if, at the end of the year, future you could see this episode or listen back to this moment right now, what is something you would like to say to her, to the future yourselves?
I'm looking at you, guest.
Hold on.
Just take a moment to process. Why don't I go first?
Yeah, you posed it. Go first.
I don't know how this year turned out for you, but I would hope that you had the courage to pursue everything with passion and heart, for yourself, even if the whole entire world disagrees and it feels like the world is falling apart and just crumbling and disintegrating in your hands. Keep going. You can do it. And if you don't feel strong enough, if you feel scared, if you're self-doubting, it's part of the progress. It's part of the process. And not knowing has to first happen in order to know later. So continue to seek, continue to go, and speak even if your voice shakes, because what you say matters, who you are matters, and what you want for yourself matters. Okay, who's next?
That was beautifully said.
Thank
That
you.
was. Ash, you have not gone second yet, so I'm gonna make you go next.
We'd have to rock, paper, scissors on it.
No. No.
This is like high school all over again. Everyone just kind of like pushing you in front of the line, like, you go first, you go first. Like,
No, listen,
so you
I have
run
a
to the
reason
back.
for this. I have a reason for this. We went me, Nina, Ash one time. Then I believe we went you, me, Nina. Now it's Nina, you, me. We've got at different positions for every question
Understand.
we've asked.
You've kept the fairness in mind and you're thinking like that.
Uh-huh.
But I can't say anything else to it. I cannot say anything else. Was the question what your future self would say to your present self? Is that the question?
No, present, this current moment, what would you like to say to future you who's looking back at this right now?
Okay. Get me out of here. Immediately.
I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Future self. You're somewhere else. No, you are somewhere else. You definitely are. And wherever you are, basking in your glorious, glorious new foundations and realities, just remind yourself of these present times. And if it ever gets hard where you're at, just remind yourself that you never thought you'd leave here. You know, you never thought you'd situate yourself in completely new spaces. So just remind yourself of where you were, where you are now. I think it's going to be very important in this journey to remind yourself that it's scary, but it's good. Yeah.
And you can do it.
Yeah.
Just had to sneak
You
my
have
word
to
in
do
there
it.
for you.
You have to do it. Yeah. It's like, I'm literally no stress, but you have to. You have to. Okay, Jay, let us have it.
So, future me, I hope that we have achieved a lot of our goals, but if we haven't, I mostly want to remind you that it's okay. Things change, things shift. Even if things crumble, we can always rebuild. You have gotten through all of your worst days. If you are watching this, then you have gotten through all of your worst days, and you will continue to do so. There's always something new around the corner, and you want to stick around, and you know you do. Don't ever forget that. You love life, and you love living. And even on hard days, try to remember that. You also have these two. These two love you, so please remember that.
I would
And I
like to
love you
say to
too.
Jay's future self, your movies are amazing.
Oh my God.
Oh, what you released, amazing.
5-year future self. How about 5? If we look at movies, let's give her a bit. Let's give her a bit.
You keep pushing it back. I need you to accept that you're great, okay? And future Jay, I love you. Future Ash, I love you. You two are incredible human beings and you deserve the best that this world has to offer. And yes, even though Jay is our special guest in this, it is highly inappropriate for me to say I love you on camera, recorded, but let this be a factual statement. I love our special guest. Yes, I do. And it is not inappropriate. It's just love, okay? And that's the only thing that's worth living for, okay?
Platonic love is just as valid.
Did you hear that? Platonic love is just as valid, okay?
Oh, there'll be an episode on that. I can't wait to get into that.
Oh yeah.
Have we talked about that already? No, we haven't. I don't think we have.
We've talked about it a little bit, but we can
skip the
expand.
surface of deeper
Yeah.
conversations.
There's things coming up, and it's like, not now. You have to wait.
Oh, well,
It's
that's my
lights
life.
off.
That's my night telling me we need to
Finish.
wrap up this episode. So,
Yes. Well, thank you for tuning in to this wonderful episode. Wherever you're finding yourself this year, have a safe one. I know a lot of us are building up new foundations right now in a lot of different ways, and life seems uncertain. But please remember, in adversity, you grow. And it's not easy, but you can get through it. And like Jaya said, you've survived 100% all of the darkest days in your life thus far. So do not give up now. Keep going. You got the power. You got the power. Okay.
She's ended on that. Yeah. And I just want to say, you all, as a last little thing as well, may this year be as you desire it to be. That's what I wish for you all. However you have set the intentions or manifested, or if you haven't, whatever flows, I just hope that it's the year that you desire it to be.
Yes.
That is my wish to all of you.
and
Thank
my
Jay, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes, my final little message would be, do the thing. You will not know if you do not try. Go out and just do the thing.
Yes.
Do the thing.
Thank you.
Do a little
Jay.
dance. I won't say the rest. Get down tonight.
Thank you, Jay, for joining us on this episode. And yes, until next time, do a little dance.
Until next time, see you the next Sunday. And we out.